I'm Andrew Marotta, host of the Education, Leadership, and Beyond podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you are listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, Empowered Principals. Welcome to episode 375.
Welcome to the Empowered Principal Podcast, a not-so-typical educational resource that will teach you how to gain control of your career and get emotionally fit to lead your school and your life with joy by refining your most powerful tool, your mind. Here's your host, Certified Life Coach, Angela Kelly.
Well, hello, my Empowered Principals. Welcome to March. I want to start with a quick announcement before we head into today's show. It is March. There are only 3 or 4 months left of the school year, depending on how late your school year goes. But you are in the last trimester of the year. This is the last season of this school year. It's the spring season. So first of all, I want to invite any aspiring school leaders or brand new hires. If this is your first time in school leadership or you are applying to become an administrator, if you have recently been hired, I want to invite you into EPC this spring, right now. It's the perfect time to join if you aspire to get hired as a school leader for the upcoming school year, because I will be offering trainings on how to get hired, how to be the person who gets hired, okay? And the more that you are around school leaders, when you join EPC, you're going to be surrounded by like-minded school leaders. You're going to be in the conversations. You're going to be at the table. And the more that you identify as a new leader, whether you're aspiring or just getting hired, the more aligned you will be to landing that ideal job in your school leadership position, okay? So new school leaders that just got hired, listen up. You will want to join EPC now for 2 reasons. Number 1, you're going to feel pulled in all kinds of directions because you are still in your current position and need to fulfill your role through the end of the school year. And you're going to be compelled to dive into your new position as leaders, because people basically expect you to start leading the day you get hired, even though you're in another position. So it happened to me. I felt like I was working 2 jobs. So you are going to be pulled into planning meetings. You might be asked to go to the leadership meetings, but you still have to fulfill the role so you can tidy that up and put a bow on it and hand it over to the person who's going to be taking over for you. And you're going to want to get caught up on all of the happenings in the new leadership position. So it's very likely that the overwhelm is going to build up quickly. Your district leaders are going to want you to be planning for next year. So your brain has to be thinking about how to wrap up this year, and you have to be thinking about 3 to 6 months ahead of the game for your next year. So your brain's going to get very overwhelmed, and it's going to build up really quickly because you'll be split. Okay. I can support you with this. I have done this personally. I've helped other people through it. Springtime is a busy time anyway. This is the perfect time to join EPC, and you'll be in for the full year. So if you join in the spring, you'll have all the way until next spring, and then you can just join in again and keep it rolling. But there's going to be a gap in the skill set that you have now and the skill set that you need to become a site or a district leader, depending on where your new position is, okay? That's totally normal. The gap is normal. You're not supposed to have all the skill sets in your new job that you had in your old job. That's normal. So it feels a little discouraging at first. You're going to be new. You're going to be clumsy. You're going to be clunking around a little bit and feel very insufficient, okay? That's normal. Don't beat yourself up, but it can be really discouraging, okay? So I'm going to be hosting the spring training series this month throughout the month of March. So when you join EPC, you get access to all of those resources, all of the trainings. If you'd like to wait until the summer to join EPC, you can purchase the spring training series as an a la carte option for $555. So you can purchase the spring training series when you join EPC by September 1st and apply the $555 credit towards the registration price of EPC. So EPC costs $1997 for the entire year, for all the trainings, all the coaching, all the bonus one-on-one sessions, and you get to apply the $550 as a credit, and you will only end up paying the $1,442 remainder for the entire year of EPC. So it's such a great deal. Okay. All of you new leaders, all of you aspiring leaders, this is the perfect time to join, because this is the time where all the HR stuff is happening, getting hired, transitioning from your old job to your new job. It's so exciting. It's so fun. You want to be an EPC. All right. Today's show is an excerpt from the Relationship Mastery series I hosted last month. This was a 3-day program that covers all things relationships with others, connection during conflict, and relationship with self. It was pretty epic, if I might say so. And you can purchase that series, the whole replay and the booklets that come along with it, for $222. And again, if you buy Relationship Mastery and you watch all the replays and you love it and you want into EPC, you can use that $222 as a credit towards your EPC membership when you're ready. Okay. So today's excerpt is from day 3 of the Relationship Mastery series, and I'm sharing the concept of your 2 voices. You have 2 inner voices. Most likely you've noticed them. They're probably talking to you. You have 2 of them, and they're opposing most of the time. There's one that tells you, dream big, do the things you want to do, be happy, go for it. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry. It's the voice that cheers you on. It's the voice with your deepest dreams and ambitions and desires. It's the voice that feels good when you actually tune into its sweet voice. This is the voice of truth. It's the voice of our heart and our soul. And it's the voice that tends to get drowned out by the other voice in our head that's kind of like the louder, more aggressive sibling. I call it the voice of fear. So on one shoulder, you have the voice of truth, and the other is the voice of fear. And the voice of fear, for some reason, always gets the megaphone. It's always fighting to be in the driver's seat. It wants to tell you all the reasons why you can't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or you won't do that, or you're not capable, or you're too lazy, or you're not good enough. All the fears. And it's trying to protect you. But it goes on, and it's really loud, and it's really annoying. And there needs to be an approach to being able to listen to both of these voices so that you know when to listen to which voice. Because there's a purpose to both voices. It's not like you just throw your fears away and only listen to one side. There's a reason you have a voice of fear. And I talk about this in this excerpt of the Relationship Mastery Day 3 training. It is imperative to build an understanding of these 2 voices and their purpose in your life so that you can proactively choose which voice you want to follow, because each of them do play a very important role and they have an impact on your life and your career. So enjoy this clip. And if you're interested in the Relationship Mastery series, you can purchase it with the tree link that's in the show notes. Have a wonderful week. The beauty about this course, Relationship Mastery, is we get to pause, we get to reflect and contemplate, we get to rewrite the script. We get to change the course, change the trajectory of what it means and looks like and feels like and sounds like to accept ourselves, to love ourselves. Because when you are accepting of you and all of your little humanness, all your little quirks, all your little faults, all your little imperfections, so you call them, all of those things, that little package, when you can get 10% more kind, a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more trusting, a little bit more compassionate, that fuel, when you start looking at yourself and that fuel, you will also start accepting others, because what you'll realize is that when you can accept your humanness, you can also understand other people's, which connects you in relationship with them. It's understandable when people lose their marbles and go off the deep end because they're so upset and passionate. It's understandable. It's relatable. When we see it in ourselves, we can see it in others. When we can accept our humanness, you can allow other people to be human. Your relationship matters, the way you think about yourself, the way you speak to yourself. Because I really want to drive this home. The way you feel about yourself, the emotions that come up when you're thinking about yourself, when you're like, ugh, or ugh, just all of it, all the internal loathing, scowling, disappointment, embarrassment, shame, all those icky feels that we feel sometimes when we've messed up or we've been told things about our bodies, things about our actions, things about who people think we are, our character. When we feel that way, that feeling, those emotions in you, it is fuel. It is energy. That's why it vibrates. It's energy in your body. You have an emotional sensation that's occurring in the body. It's a vibration, and it's like, I think of like radio waves, right? It's really low. It's kind of humming in the background. It's like, when you go to a restaurant and there's ambient, music playing in the background where if you tuned in, you could hear it, but you don't really hear it, right? You're not at a concert. Versus you go to a concert, you turn the volume up to 100, and that's all you're focusing on. The voice in your head, it might be low in the background, but it's still playing. Or it might be on full blast. But the fuel, how you're feeling about those thoughts, you turn up the volume too. The louder the thoughts, the louder the feelings. And when the feelings get more intense and that energy is in your body, that is when it impacts the way that you treat people, because it's the fuel. So it's like this. When you are at home and something's gone wrong at home and you're just all flustered and you got into work late and you can go into somebody's classroom and still be in that energy, and you might snap at them or be more critical about their teaching or like picking on something that you normally wouldn't even say anything. But that energy's got to go somewhere because we didn't acknowledge it. We didn't validate it. We didn't release it. We didn't process it at all. Okay, now I'm at school. I'll think about home when I get back home. We didn't do that because we weren't self-aware. So the energy comes with us. So when we don't feel good and we criticize ourselves, we're criticizing others, because criticism is what is fueling your actions. So what I have learned about what to do with all of this, the resistance of the acceptance and wanting to accept myself, but feeling like I can't because it's too selfish, uncoupling all of that. I'm like, what is going on here? And this is when I saw it. We have two voices. Now this is not new. You've heard this. Some people will say like, oh, I've got the devil on one side telling me to do all the naughty things and the angel on the other side telling me to do all the good things. We see that portrayed in movies or in books and whatnot. But the way that I hear the two voices in my head is the voice of fear. So there is a voice that is fueled by my emotions of fear. When I am feeling any kind of fear, the voice that I hear is the inner critic. It's the judgment. It's the criticism. It's the fear of insufficiency. It's the fear of rejection that's fueling my thoughts, fueling my energy. It's fear. Oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, what if they don't like me? Oh my gosh, am I worthy? Oh my gosh, am I capable? Oh my gosh, am I even accepted? Am I going to win or lose, succeed or fail? Do people want me around? Do they respect me? Fear. What if? We focus on the failures. We focus on the insecurities. We focus on the imperfections. And that voice of fear that's that inner critic. What happens here? And what about this? And what about that? And you're not good enough here. Remember that time you failed? And it just keeps on reminding you and reminding you and reminding you. Remember when you failed at this? Remember when you did that? Remember you acted a fool? And this voice will run the show every single time if we allow the fear to be the fuel. And what this voice, I believe, is doing is it's speaking up. It's trying to be critical it's trying to be helpful in the weirdest way possible by being a critic, because it's trying to motivate you or protect you. But what it's really trying to do is avoid the pain of insufficiency, the pain of embarrassment, the pain of others not liking us, the pain of rejection, the pain of disappointment, painful emotions, uncomfortable emotions, emotions we don't enjoy feeling. This voice is doing everything in its power to prevent you from putting yourself into situations where you might have to feel rejected. You might have to feel embarrassed. You might have to feel a disappointment. You might have to feel heartbreak. You might have to feel the burn of failure, the agony of defeat, right? So this voice is telling you, I want to protect you and keep you safe from these painful emotions. So I'm going to criticize and judge, and I'm going to kind of distract you over here and do a song and dance about focus on these people, focus on them liking you, focus on, criticizing yourself. Let's just stay in this area because at least it's a zone of comfort. At least it's safe. And so when we're reacting to that fear in the name of motivation, in the name of discipline, that's how I used to frame it. Oh, I'm just being disciplined, or, oh, I need a little kick in the pants. Need to get going here. There's a difference between giving yourself loving feedback and giving yourself jerk feedback, right? Like really mean, like terrible feedback, just to think it'll feel so bad that eventually the pain will be too much and I'll finally get out and get to the gym, or I'll finally get out and write that book, or I'll finally get out and do the thing at work that I needed to get done. And sometimes it does work. That's why we keep doing it. We have intermittent success with harshness and criticism, and it might motivate us temporarily, or it might give us the discipline we need to get something done, but it doesn't feel good. The whole time it doesn't feel good. So the next time our brain's like, whoa, I'm not doing that again. And so we avoid even harder. We go even further around the block. We take a bigger detour. But what we don't understand is in the attempt to avoid criticism, to avoid rejection, to avoid embarrassment, disappointment, we are doing those very things to ourselves with our relationship with ourselves. We are rejecting us instead of accepting. We're criticizing us instead of comforting, right? We are critical of ourselves versus being constructive with ourselves and supportive. We're being dismissive versus embracing. We are actually doing the very thing that the fear voice, the voice of fear, is most afraid of. We're just doing it internally so nobody can see it, which is why we would be mortified if somebody saw the way that we talk to ourselves or heard the way we talk to ourselves and treated ourselves. We're hiding. We're trying so hard to hide our imperfections and our failures. I watch myself do it all the time, especially with AI. Now you can touch up your skin, touch up your face, touch up your photos. You could literally create a totally different human. And we do that with our photos for our physical body, but we do it in the way that we present ourselves. And we have a persona. We have a facade that we put out there to hide the imperfections of our humanness, emotional imperfections, mental thoughts, imperfect thoughts. We hide past mistakes, judgments, decisions we've made that might not have been super in alignment with who we are now. And we end up playing small, playing safe. We don't go for big goals. We just kind of do what we're doing now, which is just getting through, surviving, and celebrating some superficial wins, or celebrating, the ones that are comfortable enough to celebrate. Because we don't want to look too big for our britches. We don't want to look like we love ourselves too much. We don't want to look like, we're tooting our own horn, because society makes that mean you're selfish, you're a narcissist, you're egotistical, you're self-absorbed, you don't care about other people, all you care about is yourself. All or none thinking. So we get that feedback from people, and we're like, whoa, we disconnect. We disconnect from them. We disconnect from ourselves. There's a disconnect. The relationship disconnects, and we hold ourselves back. And then what do? We go home, we get in our minds, and we worry. Anxiety, worry. Brrr. What are people going to think? What did they say? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? Okay, that society doesn't like that I am too tall. What am I supposed to do about that? Society like that I'm too short? I'll wear heels. Oh, society thinks that principals should be servant leaders. Okay, I'll be at work 24/7. Oh, now they're telling me self-care. Oh, I guess I'll try and get some sleep. Oh, now they're telling me that we need to do this. Okay, I'll do that. Over here, have you noticed that society is always changing the rules about what's in, what's out, what's cool, what's not, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Education is, we're famous for following trends versus creating trends that are consistent with human development. We are in the business of human development. And when we're listening to the voice of fear, what we're doing is we are focusing on how it appears versus who we are. And life doesn't respond to what it looks like, how it appears, the facade. Life, people, the experience that we have, it responds to who we are on the inside. You can hide the fact that you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself. I've tried for decades to be good and kind and generous to all the people and then come home and be mean to me. But what happens is the truth of who I am on the inside is energy. And that is our experience. So you could go out there and everybody could like you and you could kiss up and people please and placate people and do everything everybody asks you to do. And so they might be happy, but your experience isn't happy. You're not happy. And then you live a life from beginning to end, trying to people please, never feeling genuine to yourself, never honoring the relationship with yourself, never valuing what it is that you want, how you want to feel, what you want to experience, what you would like to contribute to the world in your way, because we're focused on how it appears versus who we are inside. Unfortunately, I have observed that that's how most people live, on the frequency of fear, listening to the voice of fear. But there's another voice. Thank goodness. Another frequency we can tune into. It's like an AM radio, right? You can be on this frequency, 96.5, or you can go up to 101.3. Tune into another frequency. This is the voice of truth. It's when you're alone by yourself and you're dreaming about your desires, about your goals, about your dreams, about you're thinking back to the wonderful Christmas and New Year's you had, and you're reminiscing those memories, and they already are nostalgic because they're already memories. Or you're thinking about the future. You're thinking about maybe you're starting a family and you're daydreaming about the love you're going to feel with that little bundle of joy. Or maybe your child's graduating college and you're sad and happy. You're so excited to see them spread their wings and your heart is breaking because they're leaving the home. But it's the voice of truth. It's the goals that you have, the experiences you want to create, the person you want to be. Have you ever been like, I actually had somebody hire me and he said, I want to be the James Bond of school leaders. He had a vision of who he wanted to be, a vision of his identity, of who he wanted to be. He dreamt of who he wanted to be, but he didn't feel that way. So he wanted that appearance, but it wasn't who he was. So we had to actually create an identity for him so that he could feel like he was the James Bond of school leaders. But there is a knowing in you. There is a voice of truth. There is a compass, a GPS system. It's that intuition or that gut feeling, some people will call it. It's the body saying to you, hey, this is where I want to go. This is what we're destined for. This is what we were born to do. There is a knowingness. It's clear. There's clarity to it. There's truth. There's leaps of faith. I literally just moved from California. I've lived in California for 30 years. I have loved every minute of it. I will even take their traffic. I would even take the 8-year drought we had, all of it. I loved it. And after going through a very significant life change, I had a knowingness. I didn't know where I was going to land. I didn't know when. There was no answer until my son called me one day and said, Mom, he had moved to Nashville about 18 months prior. And he said, Mom, I think you're going to love it in Nashville. And I was like, I couldn't fathom leaving my beloved California, but there was a knowingness in me. There was something in my gut that said, yeah, go. Your son's there. Go be with him. California's not going anywhere. If you want to come back, come on back. We've got you. But go play. Give it a year. Go have fun. Try new things. Go explore. Start a new chapter. Write the adventure. You are the screenwriter of your story. You are the main character. And here I found my son coaching me on how to live my life. And I'm a life coach. And he said, Mom, I'm going to say what you said to me. California's not going anywhere. If you absolutely are unhappy, you can always go back. Give it a try. This is exactly what I said because he was agonizing over what to do with the move. Should he stay in LA? Should he move? Wanted to go to the Pacific Northwest, but didn't really know anybody up there. He just didn't know what he wanted. I said, just pick it and stick it. So one of his best friends was moving to Nashville and said, I think you should come with me, Alex. Give it a year. Alex has been here 18 months. I've been here 2 months. And it has been the adventure of my life. I had a knowingness, even though I know nobody in this city other than my son and his roommate. That's it. And the people at the coffee shop down the street now. There is something in your body that tells you, follow this path. And you're like, that doesn't even make sense. Follow this path. Are you sure? That's what school leadership was. You should be a school leader. Oh, no, that does not look fun. I'm not doing that. I'm going to stay right here in my little kindergarten room, in my instructional coaching room. No, thank you. Be a school leader. There's a knowingness. And when you listen to the voice of truth, the clarity, the guidance system inside of you, there is an acceptance with this. The voice of truth, it's very loving, it's very kind, it's gentle, it's patient. It will wait for you. While you bounce over and listen to the voice of fear, and you freak out. This one, voice of truth is always there patiently waiting. Nothing's gone wrong. But when you do listen to this voice of truth, there's an alignment. It just clicks. This is awareness. This is alignment. And from here, the voice of truth, you gain momentum. So when you're acting in alignment with the voice of truth with yourself, you have this like duality of relationship where you have this relationship with fear and you have this relationship with truth. But when you're with truth, the truth of who you are, you're a little kinder to yourself. You're more accepting of your humanness. You can laugh at or celebrate your imperfections a little bit. You know you. You can laugh at that a little bit. You can just embrace it, celebrate it. Your imperfections they just equal differences. And those differences are your talent, your skills. It's who makes you who you are. I think about people who have what people would say is not normal, the average human body, right? Whether that's in size, shape, mobility, cognitive ability, physical ability, the human body comes in every way, shape, or form. And for the people who were born with a different, less than average, not average shape, size, mobility, whatever, they became inventors. They invented ways to live life. People, who have had accidents and lose their legs or lose their limbs. People invented materials for those people to embrace life. If everybody all had 2 legs and then something happened catastrophically, we would not have anything in place. So for all of our differences, they become creations. Our differences are how we become creators. The reason that I can be a life coach, a certified life and leadership coach for school leaders is because of all of my imperfections. I was a terrible principal for a long time. And I say that with love and appreciation and gratitude. If I hadn't been so awful and so strung out between my personal life and my home life, I wouldn't have reached out to get a life coach. I wouldn't have created this awareness. I wouldn't have ever applied these tools to education and to school leadership. And from that, I created programming for school leaders. That's unlike anything anybody else could ever offer you because I was put on the earth to create it. How can I not love that? How can I not appreciate that gift that I was given? And all of you have it too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Empowered Principal Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more, please visit angelakellycoaching.com, where you can sign up for weekly updates and learn more about the tools that will help you become an emotionally fit school leader.